Hello, my name is James Patterson, and in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to treat an image in different ways using adjustment layers. And this allows us to make non-destructive changes that will alter the tones and the colours, so we'll try and produce lots of different finishes like this. Let's just escape out of carousel mode in Bridge there, which incidentally you can access by pressing Command or Control and B. And you can see I have my images open in Photoshop. So first of all, let's go to my black and white treatment here, and you can add an adjustment layer by clicking on the icon at the bottom of the layers panel here. So I've chosen to add a black and white adjustment, and once you've added an adjustment, it comes up as a new layer in your layers panel where you can click it on or off to see how it's working. You can lower the opacity as well if you want to reduce the intensity of the effect. So you have all the different options that working with layers gives you. So everything we're doing is non-destructive in that our background layer stays completely intact at the bottom of our layers panel. And the great thing about working with adjustment layers is you can double click on the layer thumbnail to access the settings at any time and retweak them. So you can see in my black and white adjustments panel here that I've altered the sliders to come up with a certain setting. I can click on the hand icon here, and this allows me to drag within the image to interactively lighten or darken certain colours. So I'm quite happy with how that black and white conversion is looking, but I think it could do with more contrast, and I've done that by adding a curves layer as well. So let's turn that layer on, and you can see I've added an S-shaped curve by making 2 points on my curve, one to drag down into the shadows, the other to lighten the highlights, and the more pronounced the S shape, the more contrast you have. So this shows you how you can combine different adjustment layers to come up with different results. So we've created a really punchy black and white image by first applying a black and white adjustment and then using a curves adjustment to boost the contrast. Let's move on to our next image. And here we have a very simple way of colouring an image. This is done using the solid colour adjustment layer, which will give us a block of colour that sits above our background. And we can change the colour by double clicking the thumbnail here. Let's choose a bright pink there. And what's really helping us out with this colour fill adjustment layer is that we have the option to change the blend mode, and we've changed it to colour, and this will allow the image detail of the background to show through while applying that colour to it. Moving on, we have a cross-processed effect, and again this is done by using two different adjustment layers. First of all, we have a colour balance adjustment layer, and you can see in my colour balance adjustment here that I've boosted the cyan and also added a bit of blue as well. Let's turn off my curve, and you can see how that's altering the tones. And then I've added a curve adjustment again with an S-shaped curve, this time dragged slightly higher up in the highlights, and this will give us that cross-processed high key effect. Next we have a slightly crazy finish that we've applied by using a gradient map. Let's double click our gradient map here, and you can see in my adjustments panel how this has mapped a gradient onto the tones in our image. So the darker tones will be mapped onto this colour and the lighter tones will be mapped onto this colour. If we click in our gradient here, we can access the gradient editor, and this allows us to choose a preset that will map those different colours onto our tones. So you can see you can go really crazy here with the colours. You can also double click on any of these colours here in your gradient and alter them, so you can come up with really interesting results. Moving on to our final treatment, and we've used a hue saturation adjustment layer to reduce the intensity of the yellow background. So with the hue saturation box here, you can target different colours. So we've targeted the yellow tones and used the saturation slider to reduce the intensity of that yellow. If I wanted to say change the colour of the background, I can go back to master, then use the hue slider to alter the colour to whichever tone I like. And then we can use the layer mask that we have built into our adjustment layer here. Let's click on it to make sure it's highlighted. Then we can use the brush tool with black as our foreground colour to paint over the girl here, and this will give us a layer mask that hides that hue saturation adjustment layer and reveals the background layer underneath. So obviously I'm being rough about this, but you can be a bit more precise if you like. So that's just 5 ways you can treat an image, and there's obviously a lot more to explore in the adjustment layer drop down menu here. So I'll leave you to have a play for yourself. Thanks very much for watching.